Welcome to the Hacking Your Health podcast with Ben Canning and Dave Kennedy. Two guys heading out to hack body, mind, business, and beyond. We are here to provide a single source, bullshit-free guide to understanding your body and how you can live better for longer.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back. I'm Ben Canning.
I'm Dave Kennedy.
And this is Hacking Your Health. Where are you?
I am at my new office, the new Trusted Sec Intergalactic Syndicate headquarters in Fairlawn, Ohio. I actually don't have a lot of stuff set up yet. Still trying to get everything. I don't have monitors, so literally my computer is on books right now so that I can I'm on a standing desk, but so if the sound quality is a little bit different, please let me know. I got a new Yeti Blue, and hopefully it is good. I want to get a stand for it so it's a little bit closer to the face, but
Did you get an actual blue one?
It's called a Yeti Blue. It's not blue at all. In fact, it's all, if you can see here, it's all black.
Oh, nice. Mine is also black.
Is it? Yeah.
It's a Yeti Blue. It's a black blue one.
Yeah. I don't know why they call it Yeti Blue, but it's definitely good. So,
okay, cool.
Yeah, how are you doing, man? How are you?
Yeah, doing good. So I have my I've had 2 sessions from programming with James, and the one thing that I've noticed straight away is I work so much better with structure. See, having somebody else program for me and tell me what to do, and I go in and actually just do it. Sessions are much better. Feel much better. I realize that coaching is my job and I program all the time and I'm aware of how the gym works. But if I go in and I don't have a plan or I've sort of written one down myself, I'll just half-ass it and then I'll just not do it. Whereas having the structure from James has been infinitely better.
It's interesting you mentioned that. I can't imagine now not having a trainer from a structured perspective, just because it's such a critical part of my life where it's like getting up and taking a shower, or, hey, I have an AT&T wireless bill, or, it's the things you do day in and day out, like a personal trainer is part of that existence of what is my life. And, I don't ever see myself really going back to a non-structured type of approach. And I was actually thinking about today, I was doing my check-in photos today and doing my measurements, which, by the way, my waist is down, my hips are down, my biceps have increased, and my calves stayed exactly the goddamn same. So,
Well, on a note on that, I trained calves today, probably for the first time, probably in about 2 years.
Dude, they
watch
don't
out.
seem to do anything.
You watch out.
I feel like calves are like this magical muscle that, it's there, but it doesn't do anything. It just doesn't grow.
Again, actually, point the note that I think the main issue that I find with calves, or I have found, is it's actually because it does quite a lot. So because you're on your feet all the time and it's moving quite a lot, and that sort of, whenever you're walking, that flexion and extension through your ankle, because it does quite a lot, you have to put a serious load through it to actually really challenge it. So, bit of perspective on that.
So what you're saying is lift heavier.
Just lift heavier, do more.
Lift heavier. That's the reason that could be modeled for all life. How do you want to get healthier? Lift heavier.
Lift heavier. Yeah. That's it.
It's interesting. But going back onto the whole topic of personal trainers, it's just great to be able to have that structure in place that allows me to take certain things out of my life and have somebody else really managing in capacity. It's no different than having somebody that manages your calendar, for example, which I still don't have, by the way. I have over 300 employees and 2 businesses, and I still manage my own calendar for what it's worth. I don't have a secretary. I don't have an assistant. I don't do
Why not? Why not? That's interesting.
I don't know. I
control.
It's not. I am the least controlling person you will ever meet in your entire life. If there's a responsibility that I can dish up to free my time, I will do it. Don't care. It's more so. I feel bad, I guess, is the best way of putting it. Why should somebody else have to manage my schedule? And I don't know. It's a weird thing for me. I don't think I could ever have somebody that just manages my schedule and my day to day, because I feel like that's I don't know. It's just a weird thing. I just never have had it. And it was funny because even when I was at Diebold, we had a a secretary that would, share calendars between the CIO, and I was the chief security officer there. And I would never use her. And then she came in one day, she's like, hey, like, this is my job. Like, I won't be able to do my job if you don't do your stuff. I'm like, okay, it's fine. And then it was great. It was awesome. But like, I don't think I could do it again. So,
well, I mean, how would we then coordinate what we're doing? Like, would I have to talk to someone else to like book the podcast times?
Right. See, like that just wouldn't work. That wouldn't work. No. And I'm sure, obviously, like, like stuff like this would obviously still remain the same. Like we would just text each other like we do all day long, and share pictures of our muscles and everything. But,
I think the point that you're making, and I think we've touched on this before. Like having a coach and what we do is you've basically delegated your health, well-being, fitness, nutrition, training to me. So it's the same as you do with things in your business and things in everyday life. Whenever it's a case of there is somebody else who can take control of that, then we just do that.
Yeah. And it's, it takes a lot of the concern out of myself too. I mean, you know how long it's taking me to get over my whole weight stipulation thing. I feel like I'm finally over it. Like, I don't care what my weight is anymore. Like if I go up 5 pounds, I went up 5 pounds, like I don't care at this point. But, for me, having somebody that is continuously pushing you and saying, hey, you're making progress, you're doing things right, you're on the right track, or, hey, like your sleep was off this week. What are you doing? Why aren't you getting enough sleep? Or, hey, you need to go and do this better. That's something that has been really helpful for me from a structured program perspective. So, again, I'm glad you mentioned that because, I feel like if I didn't have a trainer, it would be kind of like just like a nonchalant, not a formalized thing that I do as part of my day-to-day routine. I'd still get my lifts in. I would still, try to eat healthy, but I'd probably slack a bit on certain areas. I would start to maybe not do as much as I need to do to really optimize or maximize what I'm doing. So it's cool that you're back into it, man. Not that you ever laughed. Not that you ever laughed.
No, for me, the one thing again that I've noticed, like obviously it's only been a short space of time working with James, but number one, I have now like a point of reference as to, okay, well, how does he do this? And like, how does, in terms of how his check-in works, how his process works, like all those things. I'm like, oh, maybe I could incorporate that a bit because I feel like the guys would benefit from that. Even from an education perspective, like sending me through my program, my plan, like the stuff that I sort of told you about the trunk rotation, stuff like that. Like, again, I think there's a lot of people who benefit from that.
Yeah.
There's a weekend in June and a weekend in July that he's doing like in-person biomechanics training. I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm going to that. So there's already, it's only been a week and I'm like, well, can I go to this? And it's continued education, which again will help me with my training, of course, but it will also help me with all your guys. And I sent them a video earlier on of me doing those bloody single leg RDLs, and the feedback he gave me, I'm like, oh, I wouldn't even really thought of that. And it's just like having that somebody who's on another level is like, okay, right, I'm in the right place. Like, I'm definitely done the right thing here. So part of me is like, this is good for all you guys, but it's also like, what sort of fuckery can I get up with now within everybody's training plans?
Dude, I'll tell you, when you sent me the reprogrammed one for this week with the Smith machine, I'm like, damn it, split squats. So I just want to complain a little bit to the audience right here. So my legs are completely toast, so bad to where when I was running today, the instructor at Orange Theory came over and said, hey, are you okay? Because she saw me noticeably dying on the treadmills today because my legs were, I'm like, yesterday was a horrible leg day. She's like, oh, damn, I can tell. I was literally running and I'm like hobbling along, like I look like a drunken runner because my legs are just giving out on me. So I still beat everybody, of course, but I didn't look good doing it. But so like, okay, you programmed. Let's just talk a little bit about this training program really quick. So what I do like about it, by the way, is there's some days that are like 45 minutes to an hour, and some days that are like more like an hour and a half, which I like to like split between those. It's nice because like yesterday was a legs, it was full body push, right? Is the kind of the concept there. So legs and chest basically are the big components there. And so we start off with leg curls and calf raises, kind of get the blood pumping in those areas. And then it's Romanian deadlifts. And then it's split squats. Then it's belt squats. Then it's leg presses. Then it's leg extensions. Like at the end of when I was at the leg extensions, I'm literally screaming, "I hate Ben!" As I'm going up with the leg extensions. So,
blood flow restriction leg extensions as well.
So that's why I was screaming out, "I hate Ben." But it was interesting. I didn't like the BFR BFR belt squats just because of how it kind of sat on my legs as I was going down. But with the leg extensions, it actually noticeably went pretty well. So first time doing that, which was really good. And then what I also liked is I've traditionally stayed away from back squats just because I don't like how the strain that it puts on my lower left back, which is problematic for me. And I noticed after I got done with the split squats, which were miserable and horrible. No,
come on, tell the truth. You actually sent me a message saying you kind of like them, so don't like front in front of everybody in the audience like, oh no, they're so hard and I hate them. You do like them.
I like the stability that the Smith bar gives me as I'm doing them. I would say they're not my favorite exercise. Okay.
In order of split squats in general, they're probably the best.
Yes.
Can we say that?
I'll say it. Yes.
Okay,
Out of
fair.
all the orders of split squats, which I hate all of them, the Smith bar split squats are the ones I hate the least. Okay.
They're the least shit version of split squats.
But I will say the Smith bar, I'm in love with that thing. Like, I love the Smith machine. And, I do want to be cognizant that I can't always use the Smith machine because a lot of the stabilizer muscles and things like that you use in your arms, you want to be cognizant of, which is why we have our training broken out different weeks and different muscle groups. Like, on Friday, I'll be using the Kabuki camber bar and dumbbells, to keep those stabilizers going. But, pretty much every exercise on the Smith machine I just love because it really forces you to have proper technique because the bar doesn't go anywhere. So for like RDLs, you can't really jack it up because you're literally locked into place. So, you can still curve your back and a few other things, but at the end of the day, like, it's a really solid movement. And so I decided after my split squats, I was going to swap out my belt squats with the Smith bar back squats. And that felt really solid because I felt like I was stable. I can get down really low with them, which is really good, and then pop back up. And I did some pretty heavy weights there. I was up to, just kind of getting back into it again, and also taking into consideration that I already destroyed my legs with RDLs and with split squats. So I was up to like 340 on the Smith bar back squats, which is pretty solid, I think. And I definitely, I think on fresh legs could go way heavier than that. So it was good to see that I was able to stick with consistent form. That was like 340 by 10, so I did 10 reps of those. So overall, really, really excited about the Smith machine. But a good program. Just had to vent a little bit on the legs yesterday.
Just needed to talk to someone.
Yeah, I needed to express my emotions during that period because I was in a bad state. So.
Yeah, I think I'm obviously, as we know, a big fan of Smith machine for a lot of reasons.
How was your legs day, by the way? Before you get into that, how was your legs day?
My legs day was good. So I did leg extension, which was a real pain in the ass because there was like 5 guys hanging around the leg extension, not actually using it, just sat on it while they're doing other things. I'm like, get the fuck out of the way. Leg extension, hack squat, which was good, but again, haven't been on it in a while, so I think it'll take me a couple of weeks to sort of just like refine my footing with it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Then I did seated hamstring curl, which was good. No issues with that. So the one in Gym Doc's really nice, just the way that it's set up. Then I did the single leg RDLs, which previously, whenever I programmed them or I would have done them before, would have almost been like a warm-up exercise. But the way James wants it, he wants a loading exercise. So stabilize yourself on the bench or whatever you want to hold on to and just treat it like a normal RDL. So it was pretty decent movement. Actually really enjoyed being able to do them one side versus the other. And then on my next leg day, which I think is on Sunday, I'll actually do proper barbell RDLs. Then calves, obviously, and then some core stuff, and that was pretty much the long and short of it. So it was good. It was short and sweet, like it was nice, but I was done by the end of it. And I think I prefer that like shorter. There's one working set, one back off set, and then the session's done. So again, this comes down to learning the skill of training and being able to train at an intensity. Once you sort of have that, it wouldn't be necessary for me to go in and do 4 or 5 sets of something because I just wouldn't be able to give it what I need to give it in every single set. So, one set of 6 to 9 and then one set of 10 to 15 is all that I really needed for it. So it was good. But I think it's that sort of early stage of the training plan where you're sort of finding your feet with the weight and whatever else. So I would say after a couple of weeks, I can really know, okay, right, this is where I'm at and this is where I'm going to really start to progress. So I'm looking forward to it. It's cool. The way that's set up, my training is Monday off because it's a busy check-in day, which I find strange because I'm like, but you have to train on Monday because the internet tells you. Tuesday, shoulders and arms. Wednesday, legs. Thursday off again because check-in day. Friday, pull. Saturday, push. Sunday, legs. Repeat.
Nice. That's awesome. It's a good breakdown.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
You were talking about the Smith machine before I interrupted.
Yes, so I like the Smith machine because of exactly like you said, it runs on the bar, so you're sort of forced into doing the movement properly. If we even talk about an RDL, one of the biggest mistakes I see people make is like they overreach on the bar. So they're like instead of allowing the bar to run down in front of them and almost run down their legs, they bring it out, and then the further it is away from your body, that's when the pressure comes in your lower back. Mm-hmm. But because it runs on a runner, it goes down straight, so you are forced to pull your hips back, which is what you should be doing anyway. So if you can nail it and if you can get it really right, it's nice. The other thing is, for guys like you and anybody who trains by themselves, I assume it has like safety bars that you can alter the height of them, and then even if you're really going to bail on it, you can just flick the bar back in. So there's a lot more safety in it to be able to push that a little bit further. So big fan of Smith machine. But again, caveat that with saying, there are times that you need to be doing stuff with free weights and free bars, so you can create that stability yourself and not always rely on something else or a machine or whatever else to do it.
One thing that so it has the safety stoppers on there, but they're also springed. They're
spring loaded. I noticed that at the bottom. Yeah.
What I like about that is if I'm doing super heavy, and I'm coming down, it actually allows me to maybe pull another 1 or 2 more sets because of the springs. It's just a little bit easier pulling up just for that split second that gives me enough momentum to pull it up and to get that successful lift. So, it's I do like how they structured the springs. I don't use the springs, like I'm not bouncing off of them. But at the same time, like as I'm going down, I come, as I yank up really quick, and that little bit of pressure that those springs get allow me to get a couple extra reps in as I'm going through. So I noticed. Go ahead.
How much space, if you put the bar right at the bottom, like the lowest it will go, how much space is there between the bar and the ground?
It hits to my like lower ankle. Is basically where it's at.
So basically what you're saying, if we wanted to do hip thrusts on the Smith machine, we could definitely do it?
No, they specifically state that those are dangerous and the machine shouldn't do them.
The other thing actually I want to talk about, because there's been a lot of chat about it within the group and whatever else, is the tonal. Because, I mean, Phil, I've said this to you before, like, whenever we first started and that's what you were working with, I was like, I couldn't really get my head around what it was. I sort of viewed it sort of as a close cable stack because it had cables on either side. And I obviously just sort of programmed accordingly. Now, yes, okay, it comes with endless amounts of variations of exercises and whatever else. But people are ranting, raving about it, asking about it, ordering them and whatever else. And I can safely say after using yours in the gym, like what it can actually do is far beyond what I could have imagined without actually trying it out myself. So in terms of being able to set it up basically for whatever fucking exercise you want, but also how you can change the resistance profile in terms of what way the resistance pushes. So if you want to do it the opposite way around, it's good in that way. And then once you start to sort of hit fatigue or hit failure, it adjusts the weight to allow you to get those extra reps. So it'll take the weight down, allow you to push those extra reps. And then the same thing, once you come to the end, it'll almost not predict, but suggest what you should do in terms of reps for the next set based on what you got. So if it felt like you went way over the set amount of reps that you had in, then it'll change the weight and change the reps and stuff like that. So very cool piece of kit. We're not sponsored, but very, very cool.
I had a friend over yesterday. My friend Dave came over, which is why my recovery is going to look horrible.
Drinking with other Dave?
Alcohol was definitely a contributing factor to recovery this morning. But he was asking me, for his kids, what I have my kids do. And my kids are actually starting getting into weight training now that they've hit puberty. And so, I've been actually working on using the tonal as a way to show them how to, do different exercises and things like that so that they can do their own programming and things like that on there for them. And, one thing I'll say about the tonal, like he had asked me, like, out of all the equipment you have, what's your favorite? And I got a lot of equipment. I got a full gym, full commercial gym in my basement, and so I have everything from a leg press machine to a leg extension, like curl machines. I have, a rack. I have a full, cable system. I have, a Smith machine. I got like everything you could possibly imagine. I got a flipping tire. Out of all the equipment that I have, the tonal by far is the most versatile and my favorite to use because you can do full body everything workouts on it, and as you had mentioned, the burn that you get in your muscles from a tonal is second to none. Like when you're going up and you're doing that last curl, and you can't get up, and it detects it, and it starts to shave that weight off, and you're like, oh my god, my arms are shaking, and and it gets down to like 10 pounds, and at that point you're like, you're done. and your muscles are done. You hit that extra little bit of.
It's like having a spotter.
It is.
It's like me standing there with you spotting an actual bar. It recognizes the struggle and adjusts the weight. It's very, very cool.
The only recommendation
if anybody works for them or knows anybody, like, we are okay. We're being sponsored. Like, we are okay with that.
Yeah, they must sponsor. One thing I will say you need to be careful of is that the handles that you use. So it comes with like a full bar. Like you can use a bar to do like deadlifts, and you can do bench press with it, whatever you want to do. It comes with 2 handles and it comes with rope. I'd recommend buying 2 ropes so you can get a better pull from the tricep extension side. But I'll tell you the cross extensions on it are my favorite. It's like
yeah.
But the thing that I'd recommend being very careful of so you don't hurt yourself is that when you're doing bench press specifically, you make sure that when you hit the buttons turn the weight on and off. When you're coming down from your last bench press, make sure you turn the button off, or else it's going to drive you down and tear your shoulder. I've done that before. I've seen other people do it before. So make sure that you're turning the weight off before you actually finish your, when you're finished with your sets or your reps. Turn that off to make sure it's good. But again, you can do everything on that. I mean, Romanian, you can do RDLs, you can do deadlifts, you can do split squats, you can do Bulgarian split squats, you can do bicep, triceps, shoulders, back, everything. I mean, it's a full body workout. It's got hundreds and hundreds of exercises. And what's really cool about it is it has workout training programs that you can use. So like if your goal is, hey, I want to grow bigger, they actually have trainers, like Coach Tony and that Booty Buster one. It's a long-standing joke in the VC. So, excuse me. But they have different training programs with the instructors there. And what's cool about it is it has a camera up in front, and it also monitors your form, and it'll tell you, hey, you're pushing too fast, slow down, or hey, you're not extending or going high enough. So it actually corrects your form as you're going through too. So it's really good for beginners all the way to advanced. They have some really advanced programs. They have HIIT training. They have, a bunch of other stuff that's all built into it, and it's all super low profile in your house. Like it takes up a fraction of the space of a normal gym. It's super tiny. It goes on the wall. They install it for you. It's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, I agree. Highly recommend.
Yeah. So on the topic today, well, first of all, before we get into the topic, I just have to say, here's my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles protein shake mixer. So Erin was doing the dishes, and she's like, "Hey, is this for the kids or for you?" I'm like, "No. It's for me. Like, why would it not be for me? Like, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles." Like, so long story short, I always go to GNC every so often. Like when my kid has basketball practice, and so I'll like hit the grocery store, get my food, and then GNC's always there. I'm like, oh, what new supplements they have, or like, what new pre-workouts can I try? And I get there, and Ghost has made this line of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle branded, pre-workouts and things like that. And I'm not a big fan of Ghost personally.
It's a cool brand. I'm not a fan of their products necessarily as a whole, but their branding is good. It's a cool brand.
They do a good job on the branding front, right?
Yeah. Well, you've just bought all the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle stuff, so definitely.
So I literally bought all their Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle protein shake mixers, their pre-workouts. The one that's a cognitive one, Nootropic for gamers. I don't know what I'm ever use that, but it had Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles on it, so I needed it. So I'm now full invested in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles at this point. So
good. So anyway, on to today's topic, we wanted to just sort of, I guess, cover frequently asked questions, because I know obviously you get a lot through Twitter and whatever else, and there's a lot of same sort of questions and issues come up when I'm on calls with people or just talking to people or talking to clients or whatever else. Like there's always the same sort of things come up. Correct. I guess the first one is struggling to hit your protein target.
And I want to say the number one most common one, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And even like, with clients that sort of start like in the first couple of weeks and they're like, I've set the target to 180 grams and they're getting like 100 and they're like, how the fuck? And like, trust me, like everybody struggles with this. Like 99% of the people that I have ever worked with, ever speak to, struggle with this in some capacity. And I get it to an extent.
Yeah, I mean, when you're getting into this calorie counting thing, and you're starting to understand your macro breakdowns of carbohydrates, fats, and proteins, which make up what you want your nutritional diets to be, your nutritional intake to be, and then breaking those out into calories and then what you actually need. There's measurements now, that you need about 1 gram of protein per lean pound of muscle mass. That doesn't mean your current weight. That means lean muscle mass. And there's a couple of ways of determining that. You can, take like a little caliper and then see what your body fat percentages are. You can estimate it as well. So, for me, I actually just do, like if right now I'm at 240, and I'm only going up, baby. So, I'm at 240. I try to get around, 230 to 250 grams of protein a day, just to make sure I have enough protein for my muscles. Like I'm not trying to get 300. I'm not trying to get 400. I have gone that high before. I think I've gotten like 350 before is my record to see how much protein I can eat in a day. But, I really try to stick within that marker period there. So, once you understand, hey, I need protein, then you fill in your macros with what you need for everything else, carbohydrates and fats. So, I know we've talked about this before, but, Ben and I's, more preferred macro breakdowns are, high protein, high carbohydrates, low fat, which is how we operate better with. Some people, again, better with high fat, high protein. It just depends on how you want to look at it. But when you start looking at how you get your protein, I think that's an important piece. And there's obviously supplemental forms that you can do. So, protein shakes. And by the way, I want to really clarify a big myth that really started off from an early study around protein and how your body breaks down protein. And it's generally thought of that your body can only handle anywhere between 25 and 30 grams of protein per intake, which is total bullshit. There's literally nothing to that. So your body can handle as much protein as you can pack in it. It's going to get broken down into amino acids. It's going to be used by your body some way or shape or form. I would say traditionally it's better to spread protein out throughout the day so that you can maximize when your protein synthesis or mTOR activation occurs for muscle, for protein synthesis, for muscle hypertrophy or growth. Our muscle rebuild. And so during those periods of time, spreading it out, you don't know when that's going to happen in your body. So having adequate stores of protein throughout the day is a good idea. There's also different forms of protein. Go ahead, Ben.
No, that's exactly what I was going to say. Like the you can only absorb X amount of grams of protein per sitting. Every protein source will be absorbed at a different rate within your body. So it's not like you can't say that for one, because if I have a chicken breast and it's 30 grams of protein, it's not, my body's not going to absorb it the same way as if I have a protein shake or as if I eat a steak. And again, also depends what I'm having alongside it. So yeah, that's bullshit. Fuck that myth.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, like you said, I mean, if you're there's kind of two types of protein that are typically used. Like you have whey and casein, which are like the two main kind of sources of protein. Obviously, you have meat proteins and things like that. Whey is very easily digested in your body from an amino acids perspective. That eventually, what's called essential amino acids, which breaks down into what your body uses for protein or for muscle rebuild. And whey protein breaks down really easy, whereas casein takes a longer time and slower absorption in your body. So things like cottage cheese, for example, are casein based. And same thing, you get protein shakes that are usually like tri-blend, where you have like a combination of like whey, egg, and casein as a source. So when you're eating it, it digests in different periods of time. So, protein can be a big thing, but I don't ever look at how much protein I'm putting in, just knowing that I need to be protein centric in most of the things that I do. So like my breakfast, I've been really getting into protein waffles. Those are like my new jam. A funny story about this really quick, just a quick side tangent. The past 2 weeks I've gone to the store. I haven't been able to find my Kodiak protein waffles, which two waffles equates to 12 grams of protein. And so I went to the store, not there. Went to the store, not there. So like I'm getting nervous that there's like a shortage of these protein waffles. Like I went on like a protein waffle hunt, and I bought like 15 packages of protein waffles, and it's filling our entire freezer. And Erin sends me a message the other day. She's like, "Hey, I'm ordering some stuff from Target. Do you need any more waffles?" Obviously, she's being an a-hole, and just rubbing it in that I bought 10 packages to take up the whole space of the freezer, but or 15 packages. But so I have plenty of adequate protein waffles. But I'll typically do protein waffles with butter, and then I do monk fruit syrup, a nice little sweet top to it, and then I'll do a protein shake on top of that. So it's a nice blend of carbohydrates, good amount of protein, and I'm probably getting, so if I do, 4 waffles, I'm getting 24 grams of protein plus 2 scoops of protein, which is going to be 64 grams of protein just in a sitting there, and that's my one meal, for breakfast. So, you start to look at how do I maximize protein throughout the day, and what sources could I use to get me the most amount of protein throughout the day to meet those specific goals.
Yeah, and the thing about it for me is, I think the way I always try and break it down with people who say they're struggling is to look at their meals individually. So if I tell you 200 grams of protein, some people are like, fucking hell, like, how am I ever going to get to that? But I'm like, if you break it down into meals and what that needs to look like per meal, it's much more manageable. The first thing that I would always say is, have a protein shake. If you struggle to get to that level, have a protein shake. So for example, if you have a protein shake, it's 40 grams of protein. It's going to take you down to 160 grams. Then you take your 160 grams and split it across 4 meals or 3 meals or however many meals that you're having. The other sort of tip that I give on that is, instead of trying to reinvent the wheel every single time, look at the meals that you're already having and look at the protein source in it and just have more of that. So instead of being like, where can I get this magic protein from somewhere, just look at what you're already having, have a bit more. So for me, the way that my protein goes, and this comes in, I think, at around 250, 260 grams, which again may sound like a lot to a lot of people, but it's just the way that I eat now. It's not like, I don't see it as that, oh my God, I have to go and get more protein like a lot of people do. So breakfast is 4 eggs and about 50 to 70 grams of bresaola, which is like a deli meat, like cured beef, which I've just gotten into and can't get out of. So I would definitely, something like that, that's, it's an addition, but it's probably like 25 grams of protein for the, 50 grams, 70 grams or something it is. And it's delicious. So I have that breakfast. Then my next meal is, I'll either have a protein bar, because I'm still working my way through the Anna bars that you sent me across, or
I just had one right before this podcast.
Or I actually have a pile of ones here to send you, of ones that you can get over here. Or I'll have...
Are they better than Anna bars?
They're entirely different. You can't compare.
Okay.
They'll be with you soon. So.
Okay.
Or else I'll have Greek yogurt. So the Greek yogurt that we get over here is called Faye. It's FAG. It's total zero, fat free. It's like 10.1 grams of protein per 100 grams. So if you want 20 grams of protein, have 200 grams. The other thing that I would do sometimes is throw a scoop of protein into it. It'll change the flavor of it, and it'll obviously add some protein to it. My next meal is oats with protein, so oatmeal with protein powder. Again, probably about 40 grams of protein in that. Then if I'm training, my next meal will be a protein shake with Cocoa Pops that everybody knows about. If I'm not training, I'll probably have like 200 grams chicken and some rice, because can't beat chicken and rice. And then my last meal of the day will be the one that I sent last night, the prawns with the rice noodles. Now that is quite a lot of prawns. And I know that you said last night you feel like you have to eat a ton of prawns to get any sort of amount of protein into it, but I do really enjoy them. I don't like eating chicken a lot. Like, I couldn't eat it for every single meal. I think it just comes down to I've eaten it for so long that I'm just sort of like try to avoid it as much as possible. And that's how I get in. That's between 250 and 260 grams of protein. And I don't even like, that's just the way I eat. Like, that's how I put my meals together.
Yeah, it's interesting. There are days where, we'll get into discussions around, like, how do you plan these types of things when you're traveling, for example. I was actually talking to a good buddy of mine, Paul, and he was like, man, when I travel, it's really difficult for me to hit my protein goals and things like that. So it's interesting. I'm at the office now, right? And I have in my bag here, let's go grab it real quick here. It's right here. I got a protein shake here that, the Fairlife ones are really easy to go. They don't
delicious.
They're delicious, first of all. They taste amazing. 42 grams of protein. Don't have to be refrigerated, so you can keep this very, very quick as a quick go protein shake. Of course, I got ample amounts of Anna bars just in case. Beef jerky in here. I have an energy drink in case I need a caffeine boost. So I got I pack things throughout the day to help me meet those goals if I need them, and especially if I'm traveling. Like biggest things are like airports just have terrible food in most cases, so a lot of times I'll bring like protein shakes, beef jerky, protein bars, things that I could eat that will sustain me in my protein goals as I'm going along. But regardless, when I start breaking down my meals, oftentimes, if I'm at home, it's very easy for me to plan my meals, right? Because I'll for breakfast, exactly what I said there. There's a lot of multi-grain bagels, like Dave's Bagels, for example, has 9 grams of protein in them. Some of the multi-grain like buns and things like that have 6 to 12 grams of protein in them. So you can get protein from bread if you're paying attention to the types of bread that you purchase. I'll do a lot of Greek yogurts, which typically have 12 grams of protein per Greek yogurt, which is like 80 calories. So you can, pop 2 of those, you're hitting 24 grams of protein just through Greek yogurt. I love cottage cheese. There's this brand called Smith's that makes cottage cheese mixed with pineapple. So it's a little bit of a sweet cottage cheese type of thing, and I really enjoy that. Throw some salt on top of it. It's perfect. And then for lunch, I'll typically have more of like a rice-centric or carbohydrate, high carbohydrate type of meal, because I'm usually trying to replenish from my workout in the morning. And then I'll have, chicken breast or steak or, lean hamburger or pork, things that are heavy in protein there. And I usually try to get around, 60 to 80 grams of protein there, which if you count, my previous one, I'm usually around the 120 to 130 mark, just by lunchtime. By midday, I'll usually have a snack of like either a protein shake if I need to supplement, or I'll do beef jerky or more Greek yogurts. And then by dinner time, usually very heavy protein-centric dinner meal. So I'll have, usually like a steak or, a whole chicken or a couple chicken breasts, fish, salmon, something that'll be, pretty protein-centric to get like, another 50 grams of protein in that way. And by that point, I'm hitting my 230, 240 mark, and that's it. I'm good for the rest of the day.
Yeah, and it is the main thing that I can say is build your meals around the protein source, and sort of look at your plate and think. The majority of things that I see, or what I see quite a lot, is people are looking at their meals and their protein portions tiny and their carb portions big, because that's just generally the way people seem to eat. If you literally look at the size of the portion of your carbs and half it and double the amount of protein that you have, then it's going to be the same amount of calories, 4 calories per gram of protein, 4 calories per gram of protein, 4 calories per gram of carbs. So it'll be the same, and it'll obviously just sort of change the dynamic on your plate. The other thing as well is sort of like things to think about adding in. So you're talking about Greek yogurt. Well, yes, okay, the meal that I would have would be like Greek yogurt, blueberries, and dark chocolate or something like that. There are ways to start to incorporate that into your evening meal. So, for example, if you're talking about chicken, you can make quite a decent, like, quote unquote creamy sauce out of Greek yogurt. So if you add a couple of spices into it or whatever else, if you're using 200 grams throughout the sauce in the chicken that you're already having, it adds a lot of flavor, and it's not just the boring ass chicken breast that you don't really want to have. Adds a lot of flavor to it, and then adds another dynamic or another level of protein throughout it. I do want to caveat what you're saying about the bagels and stuff like this, and this is where it sort of comes into, when we start to increase calories, I'll always increase your protein target alongside it. So things like that are almost like a protein's a secondary macro in it. So while it's always good to get it in, I always want to make sure that you're getting a decent amount in from actual protein sources as well. So that's why we'll always bring your protein target up as we bring your calories up.
Yeah, and it's those adjustments, and starting off again, if you are struggling hitting those types of goals, supplement with protein shakes. Protein shakes can be a very easy way for you to supplement until you get your nutrients under control around how much you need. I mean, again, 2 scoops of protein, typically, most protein shakes are going to be, around 20 to 25 grams of protein. So you're getting either 40 or 50 grams of protein per 2 scoops. And the big debate is, do you use, well, obviously Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Cup, you have to use that. But do you use water or milk? I heavily recommend sticking with water. It goes down easier to digest. If you use milk, again, that's more protein though that you're adding to it. There's a brand of milk called Fairlife, which is what that protein shake is for. They also make milk as well, and it's called ultra filtered, which they basically remove most of the sugars, some of the fats, but I use the whole milk version of it, and it has, I think, 12 grams of protein per cup, which is the highest amount of protein per milk than any other one out there. So you can get some really good protein from milk sources as well. So if you think about that and you add Fairlife milk to your protein shakes, if you prefer milk in those, you got 50 grams of protein plus, probably 2 cups of milk. It's not 24 grams of protein. You're looking at, 74 grams of protein in one sitting at probably around, so you got 240 calories typically for protein shake, 2 scoops of protein shakes. And then you got about 120 calories. So you're looking at probably around, 400 calories or so, 4 to 500 calories just for 72 grams of protein, which is a really good ratio there for what you're trying to accomplish. So, you can definitely supplement if you need to. Again, Ben is always a testament of trying to get 80% what you can from a whole foods perspective. But as you start to get better with your nutrition, like I remember when I first started with Ben, I was all over the place with my food and my protein and like hitting my marks and, trying to figure out the balance between carbohydrates and everything else. But it really becomes more of a second nature as you start getting through it, and really easy to hit. I mean, yesterday's actually a good example. I had a fairly heavy protein centric breakfast, but lunch was pretty much just all sushi. I was out at the office, and so I had heavy carbs, and I think by the time I hit dinner time, I was only at like 150 grams of protein. So I supplemented with a protein shake, and then I had a nice steak for dinner, and then I was up to my 240 that I needed. So it was a perfect match to get up to that point. Just takes you kind of planning out your day.
Yeah, sushi is delicious though. The other thing I would
deliver it again right now.
The other thing that I would say is sort of be aware, like how to sort of swap things out. So one of the best and worst things about using MyFitnessPal is it gives you the freedom. So it's good because it gives you the freedom, but then you almost reach this like level of decision fatigue where you just can't decide what to eat. So what I would say is if you have like 2 or 3 go-to meals that tick certain boxes, i.e., okay, here's 3 breakfasts, 3 lunches, 3 dinners. I know that roughly they're all about 500 calories, and I know roughly there's about 35 to 40 grams of protein into it. And you know that you can have them tick the box and not need to worry about it. That's absolutely fine. But also know how to substitute. So if you go, right, one of these meals has 300 grams of chicken, then if I swap that out for 220 grams of mince, or like you said, steak or whatever it is, that how to sort of swap things out and alter it. So having the freedom's good, but having too much freedom can be a bit of a shit show. I hope as well somebody was keeping count of how many times we said protein within the past 20 minutes, because I can imagine it's quite a lot.
Yeah. And and those are some of the things to take in consideration too when you're going out. How do you track protein and calories as you're eating out? And for a lot of the mainstream restaurants that are out there, they will typically list their caloric nutrients, calories and proteins, typically in breakdowns of all of that on their website, or you can ask for a menu that typically has that. They usually have like a listing there or a sheet they can print off or already have printed off. For the other locations that you're going to that may not have those, literally it's best guess is, I guess, the best way of putting it, right? Because you don't know the ingredients.
Just put it into the client chat and everybody will guess, and it'll be like anywhere from 400 to 400.
No way to go prawns were 70 grams.
They were too. They were. I'll send you the back. One thing I want to say as well about the menus is I was obviously in London last week, and pretty much every place that I went to eat had the calories on it, which was really good. It was very handy. But at the bottom, they're like, like a star, as in, go and read this bit, whatever. And it was like estimated daily intake for average adult 2,000 calories. I was like, who the fuck are you to tell me this piece of paper telling me I can only eat 2,000 calories? Get the fuck.
Well, it's like the whole BMI thing. Like if I go to the doctors now, I'm considered morbidly obese. Yeah. Because of my weight, get out of here, shut up.
But even if I looked around the restaurant and looked at the amount of different types of people, sizes, shapes, height, gender, like, how can they say, everybody needs to eat about 2,000?
Yeah, 2,000 is good for everybody.
Yeah, everybody eat 2,000 calories, you'll be fine. Get the fuck. Anyway.
Yeah.
Have we covered protein, do you think?
I think we got protein nailed down. Obviously, if you have any additional questions or you're struggling with it, hit us up on our Discord server. We're always happy to answer that and talk about food and things like that. People share recipes, on our Discord server and everything else. So that's a good thing. Out there. So I think we're good on the protein side. One thing I also want to mention too is from our last podcast to now, we did incorporate the total daily energy expenditure and macro calculator for fitness on there. So if you go to our website and which is We Hack That Health, and then if you go to the resources section there's a calculators drop down, and it gives a nice little description and a cool picture of Ben looking upward in a building, and then and then you can basically plug in. Hey, are you male, female? How old are you? How tall are you? How much do you weigh? Your level of activity, and then it'll calculate your caloric intake as your total daily energy expenditure and general recommendation around what you should be doing. Now, again, that's just a baseline of what you should expect. So starting points, and then figure out, hey, if my goal is to lose, a pound or 2 a week, I probably have to be, 200-300, calories down, et cetera, et cetera. So you start to kind of shave that off as time goes on. So it's just a balancing act. At least this gives you a starting point to kind of go there.
So interesting, I just did it. I've obviously seen it, but I never actually went through it. So 34, 6'2", 220 pounds ish. Quite active, I put in. Your personal result to maintain. So obviously the phase I'm going through with James at the minute, a couple of weeks maintenance, then we're going to go into quite an aggressive fat loss phase, and he's put me on 3,150 calories, and it says exactly here, anywhere between 2,950 to 3,150 calories. So if anybody needs a start point in terms of your calories, this thing on our site's bang on.
So So it says, for me to lose weight, I'm at 3,100 to 3,200 calories.
You're 20 pounds heavier than me now.
Well, it also says gain weight, 3,755 to 4,000 calories, which we did push that one time. So that was a lot. That was awesome.
Yeah. So on the site, TDE calculator and a really cool picture of me. I don't even know what I was looking at.
Yeah, you look good, man. You look like you're looking for treasure.
Right. So we've covered the protein. You wanted to talk about how cardio was bullshit and nobody has to ever do it again. I think that's exactly what you said.
That's not what I said. So let's just be clear.
That's what I heard.
No. So again, we talked a lot about how important resistance training is, but when you think about how information is communicated to us on the internet, everybody thinks you have to do cardio to lose weight. And what's coming out now is that resistance training is much more monumental important for longevity of health, for your overall health, and for your ability to maintain and lose weight and keep that weight off. Now, I'm not saying if all you did all day long was run, that's a bad thing. But if that's how you're built and that's how you like to perform, that's fine. But all the studies coming out now are really showing that resistance training is by far the number one most important thing you can do for your health. Aside from like nutrition and things like that, right? I mean, from an exercise perspective, resistance training is big. And so there was a new study that came out, and this is from Insider, but the study's referencing a study out of Edith Cowan University in Australia. And here, I just want to read a quick thing of this. Strength training can be an effective way to lose weight. New research suggests resistance exercise like lifting weights in combination with a caloric deficit helps burn fat and reduce body fat percentage, according to the study published April 11th, 2012 in Obesity Reviews. Researchers from Edith Cowan University in Australia and the University of Caxias do Sul in Brazil, I can hear you typing, by the way, in Brazil, analyzed data from 4,184 total participants across 116 published studies on exercise and weight loss to find out if resistance training like lifting weights might aid weight loss. They found that combining resistance training with calorie reduction was an effective weight loss strategy, leading to an average of 12 pounds of weight loss. The finding debunks the myth cardio exercise like running or HIIT are the only ways to lose weight. And so usually when we talk about obesity, body composition, or weight loss, we only hear about aerobic exercise. So this was a really good study really explaining, hey, the importance of resistance training, why that is. Obviously, if you're putting on muscle mass, you're burning calories. You're doing the same thing as you would from an aerobic exercise perspective. You have the ability to lose weight, which is, right what you preach, when you first start this training program, Ben, which is, hey, the most important thing you could do is steps, which is going to, increase calorie burn, and the resistance training, which is going to start to build muscle and shed that fat off. And, here's the thing, like we always talk about weight loss as people's number one goal in many cases. And, here's the thing, when you shut off nothing and you have no muscle, are you going to look great shredded? No. So building up muscle as you're losing the weight and having muscle that comes out when you're actually shredded is what you want to probably accomplish, as you're balancing those out. I always hear, well, I need to drop the weight first and then build up. It's actually the opposite. You want to build up as you're losing the weight. And I think, the studies obviously correlating that and I couldn't say that, but also making it, saying, hey, this is what the science is saying now. We've known it for a long time, I think, in the bodybuilding industry and, in the resistance training side of the house. But again, resistance training is such a key piece from an importance perspective of weight loss.
Yeah, and I have to credit James every time that I say this because he sort of put it back to me whenever we had our very first initial call. Cardio is burning the fuel. Weight and resistance training is building the engine. So if you build a better engine, it's going to burn the fuel more efficiently. So again, to use me and you as an example, me 6 years ago, I'm burning more calories to stood here right now than I was back then because I was skinny, I didn't have any muscle. My body physically has to work more for me to do these hand gestures that I do whenever I'm talking. So I don't want to say it makes things easier, but it just makes the process of fat loss that little bit easier. So for example, again, even, me being able to maintain on 3,150 calories or whatever it said, that would seem like a lot of calories to some people. To me, it's a manageable amount. Like I don't really need to think about it in terms of I don't need to pull back or I don't need to push up. But it's because I have built the muscle mass and I'm now however many pounds heavier than I was whenever I started to train. So it makes it that little bit, I'm going to say more enjoyable. because I don't have to ever go super low in terms of calories. And you're exactly right. Like I've had a conversation with a client that came on board, and he was like, I need to eat less and I need to do more cardio. I'm doing cardio flat out. I'm really restricting my calories. Is able to lose weight, like is able to lose pounds and pounds and pounds and pounds, but then gets to that specific weight and isn't fucking happy with how he looks. And he's like, what am I doing wrong? It's like the missing piece of this puzzle is weight and resistance training. And there's so many benefits to it that I can't understand people who don't want to do it. The main benefit is it allows you to look good with your clothes off. Like, fuck yeah, that's what we want. More confidence, helps with fat loss, improves your mood, can reduce stress. You're stronger, strong body, strong mind, reduces risk of injury. So if you have stronger muscles, then it's going to allow your body to handle day-to-day life that little bit better. And then you can go right down the rabbit hole of, improves or helps reduce the risk of like heart disease and, things like that. So to me, if you're not doing weight and resistance training, I strongly, firmly believe that you should be.
Yeah. And it
worked for me.
It's worked for me as well. Yeah. It's and there's research out there, a number of studies that show how physical activity completely changes your overall mind and persona. So helps alleviate depression, anxiety, improve muscle and brain health, like you name it. Like the benefits are there. So we've talked about this a million times. Get out of your ass, get off of your ass and go work out and do some resistance training. And again, it doesn't have to be 6 days a week or 5 days a week or 4 days a week. Do what you can. 3 days a week with full body exercises is fantastic. That's a great barometer of what you can do from a workout routine perspective. But again, resistance training definitely being one of the most important things that you can absolutely do for your overall health.
Yeah, the 3 days, like that's literally what I'll start 90% of the people who come into the group with. And the reason being is, it's not too much of a change. It's not too much of a like throwing your schedule upside down. You can fit 3 days in, whether it's 45 minutes to an hour or whatever. But also it allows room to grow into it. So if we hit a plateau, we can add an additional day in. If you're like, fuck yeah, I love how this feels, we can add an additional day in. Rather than me going, right, we're going to train, we're going to train 6 days a week. We're going to do 3 days cardio. And then if we need to add something in, we need to fucking create another day in the week because there's nowhere else that it can come in. So it's a good start point. It allows room for growth. It allows room for just natural progression. It allows plenty of time for recovery. You can still hit all muscle groups frequently across the week. Again, it completely changed my life.
Yeah. I mean, mine as well. I mean, the success that I've had with the weight training has just been absolutely phenomenal. I just, again, I don't mind taking my shirt off in front of people. It gets weird at the office, but it's
take it off.
It's funny. I'm at the office now, and this is my normal work attire. So
you not got a suit on though.
Yeah. I did not have a suit on. I'm literally wearing, my Discipline Equals Freedom Jocko T-shirts, and this is my normal work attire here. But because I can get a quick lift downstairs if I want to. Go do some shoulders really quick or whatever I want to do. Hey, a little spot. Quick. It
looks cool. The photos because of the way it is, like it's very industrial, and the way that it's set up, it's very cool down there.
Yeah, I like it. And obviously the lines are going to continue to grow as we need to add more. To still tell Aaron that, but the resistance training piece of it, it's crazy because it does take a long time, right? To add muscle. I mean, what's interesting is what is it? What was the average? You can expect to add about a pound or two of muscle per month. Is that general? Yeah.
At the start, like that's when you're getting the most from it.
Yeah, and then so like if you're adding 5 pounds of fat or 5 pounds of weight, that's typically going to be 1 pound of muscle, 4 pounds of fat. So you obviously want to balance how many calories you're bringing in and make sure that you're not adding 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 pounds a week. That's obviously kind of excessive. You're just going to add so much body fat on that you're not going to actually use. So for me, I'm in a surplus right now. We're getting to a surplus-ish point now. I'm slowly ticking up on weight. Like this week, I still fluctuated, basically the same. I was 242, 243, 242, 243, pretty much the entire week. But it's just a tiny bit up. It's like 0.5 up from last week. So that's we're in the right spot. We'll probably keep pushing and see where things go with it. And it's just a cool thing to be able to adjust those periods as you're going through and doing the resistance training side of the house. But for me, I mean, it takes a long time to build muscle. And so I think someone said, I posted a picture on Twitter of like my week 1 versus I think it was like week 83 or 84 or something like that. And I said, just the beginning. And someone responded back. He said, something like, "Dear Lord, I hope you're at least halfway there," or something like that.
But the thing about it is, I don't think there isn't you can't have a halfway point because you don't have a finish point.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's like, again, I guess probably something that we should talk about is the people who struggle to put on weight, because that was me. And I've had some really fucking cool conversations with some people that I'm really excited to work with over the next, 6 months to a year that I can fully relate to, because I was that person. I was the skinny person. I was like, I know absolutely everything that you will go through, face, struggles, whatever else. I'm like, I laugh at, girls are like, "Oh, I don't want to train. I don't want to lift weights because I'll get too bulky." I'm like, motherfucker, I have been trying for 8 years to get too bulky. It's hard as hell. You're not just going to do 10 push-ups and wake up fucking jacked. Like, it is hard as hell. And actually, to talk about the weight thing, yesterday morning was the first time I weighed myself and I was under 220. So obviously always my goal to be 100 kilos, which is 220 pounds. It was the first time I was under in about 18 months. And it was a bit like, I was like, I feel like I'm small again. So like that same, it's the same sort of mentality as you would have went through of when weight starts to creep up, that you're like, I'm going back that way. And I'm like the same. I was like, oh shit. But I understand it's part of the process, and obviously weight's not the only factor and whatever else. But yeah, anybody who is listening that struggles to put on weight, or has struggled to put on weight or put on muscle, it's hard as hell. You need to be fully on board with your calories. If you have that sort of body type that it's hard for your body to actually physically put on muscle, you need to be on it. And I remember before, and I've had this conversation before, that I was eating 5,000 calories a day. And I remember not complaining, but having a conversation with a client in the gym. I'm like, I'm eating 5,000 calories. I'm doing all my training. I'm doing this. And, I'm losing weight. And they're looking at me like, yeah, lucky you, dickhead. I'm sitting here eating fucking 1,800 calories and I'm not losing weight. And I'm like, our goals are the opposite, but the struggles are the same. So I'm ticking all the boxes that I need to, and I'm not getting towards my goal. And the same thing would have happened that if I missed a meal in a day, or if I, was off my food in a day, like I noticed the weight drop off me right away. Yeah. So it's something that you need to be really consistent with if you have that body type that is a struggle to put on weight. And I have been there, and I continue to be there. Like if I miss a meal, or I'm not in and around that 3,000 calorie mark, I will lose weight pretty rapidly. Which isn't good fun. Like some people are like, oh, that's great for you. I'm like, it's not.
It's not what you want to do. That's not your goals. Different
goals. No, I want to be fucking jacked as fuck. Like that's the opposite of that.
Different goals, right? So
yeah.
Well, hey, I think that's the podcast. We got a lot of good coverage here from tips and frequently asked questions. I think keep them coming. If you have questions you want to ask, definitely let us know, and we'll keep them up in the podcast. But keep kicking ass and taking names on the hacking, or the hacking your health side of the house. And it's great to always see on the Twitter feeds all the motivation and everything that comes through. A lot of the different folks that are out there. It's just super neat to see. So everybody's doing great, and it's always good to see folks kicking butt.
See you next week.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.